Women like Carmela relied on their beauty and feminine charms to find an easy path through life. But Nikki seemed to deliberately reject any assumption or advantage that her gender might otherwise bestow.
Despite nearly 2 decades on the force, the most recent of which he'd spent in the undercover anti-corruption unit, Valerio was the most open man she'd ever met, calm and incapable of cynicism.
She was tall and lithe and tan, a goddess in a white bikini, a gold chain around her flat stomach, gold bracelets on her wrists.
Enzo di Pavola was also that rare blend of old world and new, an ancient sculpture of Adonis come to life in an edgy suit. His face was interesting and refined, with a long aquiline nose and intense deep-set eyes. Izzy took Nikki's hand and leaned in. "I always feel so intimidated by the beautiful style of the women here," she whispered. "I wanted to blend in, to be an effortless icon, but I think I've managed to achieve desperate Hausfrau." Agent Cole had an interesting face that belonged in a painting, Nikki thought. Some Renaissance monk, with high cheekbones and dark hair woven liberally with strands of grey.
She took everything so seriously, and she had this way of looking at you that seemed to demand that you stop the bullshit and give her the absolute truth. This could make people uncomfortable, but Valerio appreciated it. It made her a good detective. Also, he was sure that, beneath the steely exterior, deep down, there was a hidden laugh. The proprietor, Federico Ericello, was in front of his shop, accepting a delivery of fresh eggs and mozzarella. His bald pate shone in the preternatural heat, a rim of grey hair slicked against his head. Federico was a recovering addict. They'd met during an investigation more than a decade ago, when he was newly sober and needing something to keep him from temptation.
"I want you to know that you're safe. If anyone follows you here, I'm trained to deal with them."
He was older and dressed in a tailored suit, but those eyes carried that same intense expression she remembered, like he saw and understood the darkness of the world. He'd grown into that expression, his body settled around it like cement. She was freedom, the knowledge that if life became too dull or unbearable, you could always escape into adventure.
Part of Nikki knew he was right, that to be in Naples was to accept the danger. As the daughter of a policeman, she'd always known that the city's currents of transcendent beauty flowed in a river of economic hardship and personal desperation, and that there were monsters in the deep. She'd often sensed the hidden threats, trusting her instinct to navigate into safer waters. But perhaps this belief in her ability to find safety was an illusion.
It was a pizza the way Valerio liked, with plenty of meat and peppers, a particularly hot combination that his daughter called the breath of Satan. He felt sure Carmela wouldn't like it, but she ushered a small piece onto her plate and took a bite. Had he been unobserved, Valerio would have rolled up slices of the pizza and crammed them into his mouth.
The imposing stone structure of the Naples police station was on the busy corner of Via Armando Diaz and Via Medina, where the relentless flux of traffic and buses buzzed and roared by during all hours. On the other side of the street was a stone building constructed of high arched passageways in blackened stone and stained stucco. This was the 16th century convent turned forensics laboratory, headquarters of the Polizia Scientifica, its grand historical entrance retrofitted with an ugly metal grate. The city woke at night, when the heat that seared the streets during the day began to relent, or when the rising shadows gave the illusion of lower temperatures. People decanted from their homes, staying outside until the early hours of the morning, restaurants and nightclubs packed, spilling out the shop fronts. It's strange to see the world from this perspective, so quiet and remote. The chaotic city transformed into an ornamental postcard image. Millions of gleaming yellow lights spread out in the darkness below, stars cradling the black cup of the sea. A full moon hung over the water, forging a shimmering path to, glowing in the distance, the fairy tale island of Capri. Grotta della Sibilla, the Grotto of the Sibyl. To Virgil and Homer, this was the approach to Hades. To Dante, this cave was the entrance to hell.
O my dear guide, who more than 7 times hast rendered me security, do not desert me. And if the going farther be denied us, let us retrace our steps together swiftly. And that Lord, who had led me thitherward, said unto me, Fear not, but here await me, and thy weary spirit comfort and nourish with a better hope, for in this nether world I will not leave thee.
Set in present-day Naples, the novel follows a female detective haunted by her family's past. Please welcome author Elizabeth Heider. Thank you so much for coming in, Elizabeth.
To see you,
so good to see you.
Delighted to be here.
Congratulations.
Thank you very
Yes.
much.
On
So
this,
exciting.
just knocked it out of the park. First book here.
Thank you.
We're really excited about this. So, Liz, what do you think that secret ingredient is? Because I mean, we've had a lot of authors on this show. Not many come out with their first book with Penguin Publishing around the world. What's the secret sauce here?
You know, it's interesting. I've talked to a lot of people about this, and they say that there are about 3 things that really strike them. The first is, of course, that it's based in Naples, Italy.
Exotic.
I am desperately in love with Naples, Italy.
You lived there.
I did. I lived there for about 3 years. I was stationed with the U.S. Navy. I was a civilian analyst there, and I just fell in love with the city. It's fabulous.
It is wonderful.
And so I really wanted to capture some of that that area. It's wonderful. And also, the second thing, of course, is the characters. The characters, Nicky Serafino and Valerio Alfieri, are actually inspired by 2 people that I know in real life.
Yes.
And so, and that sort of loaned some authenticity to the characters themselves, and also allowed me to have some reach into local Neapolitan culture as well, because I was able to use these fabulous people to help me sort of make sure that these were as authentic as possible.
Yeah.
And then the third thing is, of course, the authenticity. So I actually did spend a lot of time, as I said, in Naples, Italy, but it sort of exists at the intersection between the U.S. Navy's presence in Italy and the Neapolitan culture. And of course, I had some experience with that.
Interesting.
Very cool.
Okay, so kind of take us through the journey of the lead character, Nikki. Tell us about the journey and kind of give us the scenario that sets up for the story.
Okay, so Nikki and Valerio co-own a boat. They're not romantically involved, but they co-own a boat together. And at the beginning of the novel, we actually see them out on the boat in the Bay of Naples, and it's gorgeous. And in the process of this absolutely fabulous scene, you know, with Vesuvius in the background and the city in the background, they run into a body in the water. And so it turns out there's a connection with the U.S. Navy base, and because Nikki actually works as a liaison officer between local law enforcement and the U.S. Navy, she's able to help the investigation.
It's incredible. It's really an awesome read, and Liz, you're such a good writer. You take us right there. We feel like we're living this adventure with these characters. Now, I know there's not, you can't tell us everything, but obviously, you know, you've set us up for a whole series of these books to continue to follow these adventures. But again, right out of the gates, you're talking about a television series here with a major studio.
Wildly fortunate about this, yeah. So, as you mentioned, it's Penguin Publishing, and they have they bought not just the first book, but the second book in the series, which is, the first draft is nearly finished, which is great, and that'll come out next year. But of course, there is a 7-book series that I sort of have planned and sort of loosely mapped out, and some character journeys. And then, as you mentioned, there was a lot of interest from some producers, and so I did actually sign a contract. I can't talk too much about it, but we're looking at it being a TV series.
Safe to say that we're going to see this on screen soon,
Yes.
and this is going to be awesome.
Yeah.
So we're thrilled for you.